When I was younger, I would get upset, like real upset. Like I would become a tomato inwardly to the point that I couldn't hold it anymore. And then boom, some sort of enlightened truth comes out. And then everybody would listen to me. That would be in high school. And that would happen because I would never talk. I would just keep quiet. I was a quiet kid, believe it or not. And so thinking about it, that would happen to me because I was upset at nonsense. And I realized that that's my gift to speak up when there is nonsense. And so this is what I want to do. I want to speak up about the nonsense that is surrounding me. This is the point where I realized, wait, I have a voice. Why don't I say something? Because if I don't, nobody else will. I mean, those who do voice themselves, they speak about their own case. You know, they can only extend themselves so much to those who are similar to them. And so I have to do my job and extend myself outward to protect my space. And this space is very crucial to my own mental well-being and overall happiness. I perceive the nonsense that is happening between the individual and society. There is a gap. Okay, there is the truth of the individual and there's truth of society as a whole. And the thing is, we're on both sides. We're all on both sides. It just so happens that whenever we switch side, we don't speak about the other side. For some reason, that's like an unspoken law of not talking about the other side when we are on the other side. So if we're on this social side, we somehow adopt the social truth, the group thinking, and then we're like, oh, you know, this person, the individual, blah, 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 blah. But then when we switch side to the individual and then we have a one-on-one with someone, we suddenly switch mindset and we're like, oh, you know, like society like this. And so it doesn't really make sense to me because there is a truth on both sides. And the truth is that we want to belong. And we want to belong and also be truest to who we are. And we can do this in a better way. I have this proposition, which is to bridge the gap, right? To close the gap between these two sides so that we don't have to mask so much who we are. And also we don't have to sell ourselves too short to be part of the group or, you know, some sort of cultural trendy mindset whatsoever. The reason why nobody has really been doing it is because there's no guidelines. People who are on either sides, they just don't know how to bridge the gap because there's no like to-do guide, you know, like someone to tell them, okay, so you have to behave or say certain things in order to preserve your individuality, but at the same time not be a party pooper. But the thing is, we're all hiding from each other, but then at the same time we're all with each other, and then we're all talking against each other at the same time. So it's like, who are we trying to fool here? We're just fooling ourselves, and at the end of the day, we're caging in. And, you know, as time goes by, we're just going to become miserable this way. And no one's winning. Everybody is a loser this way. So I think this doesn't make sense. And so I think that we have to establish this bridge in between. It's just the reason to all conflicts, to all miscommunication and fights and breakups and divorce and whatsoever, you name it. You don't have to be the whispering voice. And that you don't have to be like the other voice at this, you know, like, and just switch hat. We should be both and just know that we're both because it's just trying to be, you know, according to certain context, depending on the context, you are a certain way and you're like, you know, we know, like we know, you know, and it's just how it is. And then we sort of support each other being whatever it is that we need to be. And so like those who speak the loudest usually don't really have much substance in what they say, especially when it comes to dictating, you know, like cultural trends. Like, why can't a cultural trend be smart, right? Because the smart side belongs to the individual, whereas the group side belongs to the mass. And therefore, masses means more energy feedback and more like, oh, you know, we're all shouting, so let's all shout. But then it's hollow, it's empty. So can't we just shout with meaning? You know, can we do that? I'm pretty sure nowadays everything is possible. I mean, like, look at ChatGPT, just, you know, doing everything that like we think that only humans could do. So why can't humans do what, you know, we haven't been doing? It's time to be more malleable. Like, emotions doesn't have to be restrained to, you know, behind closed doors and just weeping in silence at night. It could be something that can be openly shared, but, you know, in a way that is also acceptable, but not in a fake way, right? So how can we establish that? Well, first, you have to speak from your perspective. You have to be like, okay, so this is who I am because this is just how I am. And so in order to do that, you can't be cutting your core off and just speak in a over-pleasingly manner that feels fake. So I'm going to speak as myself. And by doing so, I'm going to attract other people like me. As I do this more often, I attract, like a group mentality. This doesn't have to be like a group thing. Like, okay, like these guys or, I don't know, nerds. So they belong to that group. Or those guys or whatever, right? Anime lovers, K-pop lovers, like it doesn't have to be segmentized. It could be in a way that there is a universal way to blend the personalities in a way that we could just communicate without having to dread sharing feelings. For some, they don't know how to do it, so they mask. But it doesn't have to. So as I am bringing this into the open, I'm hoping that some people would like a domino chain effect would be like, oh yeah, that's such a good idea, right? So then they would be like, oh yeah, in order to really be yourself more, you could so and so and so, right? Because not my expertise to be on the other side. Although I've, for so many years, learned the extrovert way, but I'm still an introvert at core who just wishes to express himself at the end of the day.